UFC 285 is this Saturday, and Mark and I are going to ask the question, what if Jon Jones wins? But before we get into that, if you're brand new here, make sure to subscribe as you have brand new videos every single week. So, Mark, my first question to you, if Jon Jones can become the heavyweight champion, does that secure him as the greatest of all time?
It's a tough conversation, is that, Dwayne? The greatest of all time, because, there's different factors, different divisions, different eras, that kind of stuff. Because, if I were to say, yes, Jon Jones is the greatest, someone, what about GSP? What about Anderson Silva? All this kind of stuff. It's a very tough situation. I will say, it's damn impressive after a 3-year layoff to go up a weight class and beat one of the top contenders in the heavyweight division to become the champion. Really, really impressive.
Well, for me, Jon Jones is not even in the GOAT conversation. I think when you've been caught for PEDs, I don't want to make it all about that, but I feel like it puts an asterisk next to your name, doesn't it? It stops you being the greatest of all time. It makes your wins difficult to legitimize, isn't it? Would he have been as successful without the drugs? Would he be able to, would his cardio last as long? So it's hard to ever call him the GOAT. And like you said, it is super, super impressive though. But do you think if he gets the win, do you think he'll continue to fight, or we'll just have another long layoff?
Again, I'm not really sure, because before he took this long layoff, he was active. He was really active. It wasn't like it was the champion and it was just like prize fighters. You can all fight against each other and then you come and fight me. That's your prize, to get battered by me. It did clean out the light heavyweight division though. And at the time, I'm just saying, in 2020, when he actually retired from competition, you can see why he decided, no, this isn't for me. I'm going to go up. And, he just vacated the belt, because don't forget, this is before Jan Blachowicz was the champion. It feels like so much has happened since he's left the UFC. So much has gone on in the light heavyweight division, and you think, wow, there really is a big shake-up already. We've got the likes of Yuri, Jan, Ankalaev, all this kind of stuff. He's already beat Glover, but, it just feels like, I reckon he's going to come back and want to cement his legacy and forget about the past, forget about everything else. I'm going to prove why I'm here, why I'm in the UFC. I think he's actually going to be really active, and we might even see another Jon Jones fight in 2023.
Yeah, I think you might be right there. I think he had this big layoff mostly because of money. He kept saying, look, I've had big problems with the money. The UFC's not been paying me enough. I want to fight for my worth. And he's just signed a brand new deal, so he's probably getting paid what he wants to. But do you think he'd be interested in going back down at lightweight and securing double champ at the same time? Or do you think because he's put so much weight on that, it'd be too difficult for him to come back down?
It might. I mean, I'm no dietitian, as you could probably tell, but that'd be a tough one as well, because he's put a lot of this weight on as muscle.
Yeah,
sheer, so he's a massive guy, right? From the videos, that it's been quite secretive, actually, hasn't it? For what his physique is like right now. But for him to go back down, if he could manage it and be double champ, he's solidified himself. Like, how many double champs has there been? 5, and then he'd be the 6th to do it. That's quite a feat, and he'd probably do it to wind Daniel Cormier up.
Yeah, he would wind DC up. And I am curious to see if DC is on the commentary. Well, I don't know if that'll go well. I don't think he'll be on it, I don't think they'll even bother. So it'd be interesting to see him fight at light heavyweight. But like we said, we're not sure if he is going to go up there. And if he does get the win, who would you like to see him fight next?
Well, I think one of my dream fights in heavyweight, because it really does feel like heavyweight is coming to life again. It seemed like a little bit of a dead division for a little while there, didn't it? Similar to light heavyweight. But one of my dream fights at heavyweight, Dwayne, is Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. And I'd be rooting for Tom all the way. I'm trying to remain neutral, all that would be fly out the window. I am rooting for Tom Aspinall all the way. I think he's going to go to the top. Obviously, Tom's got to come back from injury. He's probably going to have another fight. He even said in a recent interview that if he was in Curtis Blades' position, he wouldn't want the rematch with himself anyway. So he's like, he seems very, very level-headed. He isn't just all about him and just seeing a one-way vision, if you will. But hopefully with a win in the win column by a top 5, maybe Aspinall, he could be the next contender. Is there anyone forefront of your mind?
Well, that is a dream match as well. I'd love to see Aspinall fight Jon Jones. That's the goal, isn't it? Jon Jones beats Gane, and then Aspinall comes, beats someone up after his injury, and then he just knocks out Jon Jones, cements himself as the best heavyweight ever. But talking of the best heavyweight ever, that's who I think Jon Jones will probably fight next is Stipe Miocic. And I think that'll be a really interesting fight because and I feel like it's a fight that Jon Jones can probably win because I feel like they're actually very similar, somewhat in their fighting styles. They're both very well rounded. They're both physically very similar as well. I think Jon Jones is younger as well. So it's a fight that would be interesting and a fight that I think Jon Jones could win. And he seems really hell bent on getting that fight and securing himself as the best heavyweight ever, which I don't think's been done. I mean, I know there's people who've held belts in two divisions before, but they've never been like, right, I am the best in two divisions, like the light heavyweight and heavyweight, and secured that as the GOAT of that division.
See, I'm actually the opposite, Dwayne. I'm not interested in seeing Jon Jones versus Stipe. A few years ago, maybe. But don't forget, Stipe, he hasn't fought in almost 2 years as well. In his last fight, he got knocked out by Ngannou, getting his gold taken away from him. I know he's busy. He's a full-time fireman as well, and he's got other things going on in his life, but he's slowed down because I think Stipe is like 38, maybe something like that, so he's quite aged. Jon Jones is 35, so he definitely is younger. I think it'd be a little bit of just an aged Stipe against, well, we don't know if it's prime Jon Jones, do we actually? But in the sense that this fight will reveal all. After this, see how Jones looks, see if Stipe is actually interested. He has tweeted something out, but you can't take Twitter as gospel, can you? Saying that he wants the winner later this year. And I don't know, Stipe is not busy. I love him. I think he's a great fighter. He's an even better person. But I don't think he's active enough anymore for me to be excited about that fight.
Yeah, I think you're right, to be honest. Like I was saying, I think it's probably a fight that Jon Jones wins as well. And that's not what you want, is it, really, for a big title fight? You want to go in and go, right, who's going to win? And I feel like you'd already know. But do you feel like with Francis leaving this division and maybe going off to do boxing or PFL, we don't know where he's going, do you think he still looms over this heavyweight division? And then if Jon Jones does win, is he then just sort of winning the vacant championship? It's difficult to secure it, isn't it? And set in stone, I am the champion. Do you think that'll loom over him?
Well, that's a difficult question to answer and a kind of hard subject to have a relevant opinion on, in the sense of, because Francis had one defense of his title. He won the belt and then had one defense. It's not like Jon Jones at light heavyweight, where he beat every single contender there is and then he left and then it felt like everyone else is fighting for second best place. This feels more like, essentially, it is what it says on the packet. Francis didn't get what he wanted in his contract, so he left. Okay, good enough. Here's Jon Jones or Ciryl Gane, who's the champion right now. I don't think it warrants Francis being cemented as, the best ever. He's got great highlight reel finishes, all that kind of thing, but especially in the later years, he wasn't busy enough for me to think, yep, he's the absolute don of heavyweight. In 2020, Dwayne, he fought for 20 seconds against Rosenstrike. That's it.
Yeah.
It doesn't warrant it for me. I'm not a hater. I'm just saying, like, as it is.
No, I think you're right. I think if Jon Jones does win, Francis won't loom over that division. I think it won't matter. We'll have just moved on. But if Ciryl Gane wins, do you think that might loom over? Because Francis did beat him fair and square, and I feel like that looms over it a lot more if Gane becomes the champion instead.
I think it probably could well do as well. It's like getting the silver medal, but then there's that, someone who won the gold just over there winking at you. You're like, yeah, he hasn't even left the company, but maybe it'd feel like that because he hasn't solidified. It was very, very recent, as in the start of 2022 when Gane and Francis had their fight. So it's that recent. You think, if they sorted the contracts negotiations out and Francis were to come back, maybe he could take this. But then again, it was a competitive fight, though, wasn't it?
Yeah, that's true.
It wasn't just a one-way, domination. I mean, Francis definitely won that. There was no dispute there, but Gane was in the fight all the way to the end. So, maybe.
Yeah, it's very, very close, isn't it? Like you were saying, it wasn't just a dominant victory for Francis. It was really back and forth. But who would you like to see Ciryl Gane fight next if he does win?
I think of the new heavyweights now that aren't tied up, but it's very hard. One name that comes to mind is Big Sergey. But I know he's tied up with Curtis Blades. I think he runs through Curtis Blades, but Gane and Sergey looks like the unstoppable force, to be honest. The amount of finishes he has, the power that man possesses is like Azog from The Hobbit. It's absolutely unbelievable, isn't it?
Is that the guy with one arm?
He's got it's the pale orc, the pale orc that Thorin fights. But Jesus Christ, yeah, him and Gane, that literally looks like you're setting up explosives and then just walking away, seeing what's going to happen, throwing a match in there.
Yeah, well, I think that would be a really fun fight. But I'm in a similar boat as you, as like it's a fighter who's tied up, but that's not necessarily a bad thing because then you could have the winner of Big Sergey and Curtis Blades fight Gane in 3-4 months' time. So that kind of works out quite well.
With how short work Sergey makes of his opponents, he could probably be back in there in 2 weeks,
It could be. But that's why I want to see Blades fight Gane. I really want to see Gane go up a high level wrestler and grappler like Curtis Blades, because I think that's a super interesting fight, because with Gane, he really struggled on the ground with Francis, and I'm not sure he'll be able to get past Curtis Blades. And we could see Blades as champion within 6 months if he can get past Sergey as well, which is a big bloke to get past.
It always feels with Curtis Blades, it always feels like he's just about there, then he gets beat, and then he's just about there again, then he gets beat again. It just seems, a little bit of a shame. And obviously the Aspinall fight that happened last year in London, that was just a shock injury. We can't do anything about that, but this is the first fight since then, and going against Sergey. The heavyweight division is getting more and more exciting. Do you not think, Dwayne? Like, we've even got, you throw Tuivasa in the mix, Sergey Spivak, the other Sergey. It just seems like right now there's something in the water, and we're always getting closer to the surface, and then something's just going to explode. But all will be revealed at UFC 285. It really will give us a new light. Whether Jones comes out on top, whether Gane comes out on top, that's going to be the new king of the heavyweights. Everyone is going to be gunning for. Personally, just as an armchair fan, it'd be more interesting if it's Jon Jones, because all eyes are going to be on him. He's going to have a big target on his back.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But I do think that's all we've got time for. Thank you for watching. If you can like, comment, subscribe, it really does help us out.